Oh, so I guess we're not ready, huh? Okay. So where are we then?
I say it's Acts, but I don't remember what chapter because I ain't been here.
Yeah, you get a pass a little bit, just a little bit of one, not much. But yeah, we're on Acts 7, so we went through half of it last time, but because it was pretty long chapter, I'm just going to do all of 7 today, and next week I might just go right to 8. I'm not 100% sure yet. But anyway, Acts 7. So what's happening up to this point is they made a bunch of new disciples and deacons and everything. They're setting up the church, and one of the apostles, I guess you would call him an apostle, Stephen, he goes out and makes a lot of people mad. Imagine that with the gospel. Makes a lot of Pharisees and synagogues mad. So they put him on trial, and they're saying, why are you doing this? You're not allowed to do this, but they couldn't say anything. And then they come bring them together for a massive trial, and they already have in their minds they want to kill him or imprison him. So with that in mind, he started preaching back to them, and this is what he was preaching. Then said the high priest, are these things so? And he said, men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Charan, and said unto him, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall show thee. So he's just using familiar terms, right? Familiar territory. Hey, you guys know the story of Abraham. I'm going to start with Abraham, and we'll keep going forward from there. Then came he out of the land of Chaldeans, and went into Charan. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him into this land, wherein ye now dwell. How you got here. But it wasn't so easy. When he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to set his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. Kind of a weird promise, right? God comes up to you, you're an old man, he's like, look, you can't come to this land that's promised, but your children will. You're like, I'm like 80, 90 years old, what do you mean, children? Well, it turns out he had the children that started all the 12 tribes or patriarchs, whatever you want to call it. And God spake on this wise, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land. Where was the strange land? Egypt, yes. And that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. So they were slaves in Egypt longer than America has even been a country. It's pretty crazy when you think like that. And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage will I judge, saith God. And after that shall they come forth and serve me in this place. So after they fled Egypt, they were in the wilderness for 40 years, but eventually they got to said promised land where they are now. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision, and so Abraham begat Isaac, and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs. So the 12 patriarchs had to come and be set up before or after Egypt. Yeah, it would almost have to be after or during the Exodus, like right after it. But why would it have to be after? Because when you're talking about Jacob, who's the son of Isaac, and the patriarchs moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt, but God was with him, and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. So we're getting there to old Jacob here. But first, we'll go to Joseph. Joseph in the coat of many colors, was sold into slavery by his own people. Why did they sell him into slavery? Was he mean?
Jealous.
Jealousy. Well, what were they jealous over?
Father liked him better.
And how did they know that?
Because he gave that coat.
So they're jealous of a coat. Jealous of a coat. We know Dad likes you better because you got a coat. And enough to sell him into slavery. Think about how evil that is. Like if somebody gets a pair of shoes, that you like better, you sell them into slavery. What? Seems like a pretty cruel and unusual punishment, a little bit overboard. But God seen it, God was there, God's hand was probably moving in all of this. And he said, well, that guy who was a slave, he's smart, he has skills and all of that. The Pharaoh was going to take notice, and he made him governor over Egypt. One of the most impressive, what would you call this, career ascensions of all time. You went from a slave to a Pharaoh's governor, a foreign Pharaoh's governor. Now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Canaan, and great afflictions, and our fathers found no sustenance. So then they were hungry in all of wherever they were, Egypt and Canaan. And our fathers found no sustenance. But when Jacob, back to Jacob now, heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. So there was a drought, there was no food, but they heard that there was food, or was a storage in the city of Egypt. So back then, cities usually had grain stockpiles, of course. Grain, corn, silage, and all of that. So if there was a drought, they could survive 1 year, save up, survive 2 years, save up, etc., etc. So just because there was a drought all throughout Egypt that year doesn't mean that they didn't have corn or that there wasn't something. That means that they were fine. That city had planned and prepared for that year. Maybe had a really good harvest and had plenty to go around, even though it was during a drought. But when he heard about that, he sent out the fathers to go check it out. And at the second time, Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh. Then sent Joseph and called his father Jacob to him, and all his kindred, 75 souls. So he said, all right, well, now that they know that I'm the one that sent for them and all that, go bring my father and bring all these people here. So now they get to see Jacob and Joseph, the guy that they sold into slavery, who's now the one that's welcoming them in when they don't have anything to eat. The full circle, the full turnaround. So Jacob went down into Egypt and died, he and our fathers, and were carried over into Shechem and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Amor, the father of Shechem. So it's all foretold. They even buried him in the land that Abraham had purchased way back when, before that. So there was always a closer kind of connection to Egypt and Israel as we know it now in these days. But when the time of promise drew nigh, which God had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph. So think about treaties and think of pacts. If me and Chucky make a pact right now, just forever we're gonna, always buy white cars or something. So we both drive white cars. And then, so we get it, and then my son, I'm like, nope, we have a pact. Our family always buys white cars. And then Chucky tells his kids, well, no, we always buy white cars. And maybe 1 or 2 more generations after that before they're like, why are we buying white cars? I don't know, I'm getting a red one. Okay, I'll get a green. And just, you forget about things that are older and stuff like that. That's why it's hard the whole king inherited to his son on down generations. Never works past like the 3rd or 4th one. Ever. Because somebody will kill them, or because they just forgot everything and don't know what they're doing anymore. Same thing. Pharaoh grew up, maybe his son, and then his son, probably just 2 sons, maybe even 1. And now they don't remember the pact they made with all the Hebrews and everything. To the point where there's a lot of them now, they're kind of getting worried. The same dealt subtly with our kindred, and evil entreated our fathers, so that they cast out their young children, to the end they might not live. So we got all the young children. So look, there's too many of you Hebrews. I'm going to gather you up and send you out. I don't know that they fed them all to the crocodiles in the river like they show in the Prince of Egypt. It doesn't say that here. But you guys remember Prince of Egypt, where he throws all the kids to the crocodiles. In which time Moses was born. What a time to be born, right when Pharaoh's killing all the children. In which time Moses was born, and was exceeding fair, and nourished up in his father's house 3 months. And when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son. So he got lucky. It was planted there. I'm not going to say he got lucky. It was a God thing. But his mom knew what she was doing and put him there so that Pharaoh's daughter would see it and become kind of attached. Would be like, oh, look at this little child, I like it. Did she take it right away? Did as soon as Pharaoh's daughter find Moses, did she take him? No, she didn't. What happened to him after she found him? Yeah, she just gave him back to the mom. She's like, oh, I like your baby. You can have him for 3 months till he's weaned or nursed or whatever. And then she took him back after that. So when he was cast out, Pharaoh's daughter took him up and nourished him for her own son. And Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians and was mighty in words and in deeds. So he had done a lot of great things. He was basically Egyptian. Maybe a little bit of an outcast, but pretty much grew up his whole life, learned everything the Egyptians learned and all of that. So not exactly a Hebrew. You know, you'd think like, oh, he was a master of all the Hebrew knowledge too. No, he had probably didn't know very little about Hebrew stuff. More so all Egyptian things. That was the trade-off. The mom's like, I'll give you him if you'll let him live. So, and when he was full 40 years old, it came into his heart to visit his brethren, the children of Israel. He might have gotten into it with the Egyptians or whatever. He might have just felt bad knowing how the Hebrews were treated. She's like, you know, I was originally Hebrew. I'm going to go check it out. And seeing one of them suffer wrong, he defended him and avenged him that was oppressed and smote the Egyptian. For he supposed his brethren would have understood how that God by his hand would deliver them, but they understood not. Do you think even he understood at that point how God would deliver them through his hand? Probably not yet, right? So all he did was just stick up for somebody against his own people. Like, you know, you see that sometimes if your own friends like doing somebody else, like bullying, picking on them, you're like, hey dude, chill out. It's kind of what he was doing there. Did they thank him for it? No, he had no idea the kind of people he was getting into. And the next day he showed himself unto them as they strove, and would have set them at one again, saying, Sirs, ye are brethren, why do ye wrong to another? So he seen them fighting the next day. He's like, you guys are brethren, why are you being mean to each other? But he that did his neighbor wrong thrust him away, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge over us? Wilt thou kill me as thou didst the Egyptian yesterday? So not only that, it's just not even grateful, the opposite of it. Like almost spiteful that he helped somebody yesterday. Now he's saying, you're not the boss of me, and you killed somebody yesterday. So already the rumor's getting out. So Moses is probably like, oh, this is going a little bit faster than I thought it would. So then fled Moses at this saying, and was a stranger in the land of Midian, where he begat 2 sons. So he's already 40, and now he has 40 and had 2 sons. And when 40 years were expired, so now he's 80-ish years old, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of the Lord in a flame of fire in a bush, the burning bush of the mount. A lot of people, even the Prince of Egypt and all that, you see Moses at the burning bush, and he's like a younger dude. Just like, oh, what's going on here? No, he was 80 years old, like probably to our standard of 80 years old, or at least roundabout. Were expired, there appeared to him in the wilderness of Mount Sinai an angel of the Lord in a flame of fire in a bush. When Moses saw it, he wondered at the sight, and as he drew near to behold it, the voice of the Lord came unto him, saying, I am the God of thy fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, the God of Jacob. Then Moses trembled and durst not behold. So now he gets to meet the Hebrew God. So much for Ra and Amenhotep and all those other ones, right? Now you're face to face with the God of your fathers. So he's probably like, oh, this is scary, because he trembled. Moses was scared. He was very scared, because now you're actually meeting God in real life. Then said the Lord to him, Put off thy shoes from thy feet, for the place where thou standest is holy ground. I have seen the affliction of my people which is in Egypt, and I have heard their groaning, and am come down to deliver them. And now come, I will send thee into Egypt. So to answer Homeboy's question on who made thee a ruler over us, God did. God made him a judge and a ruler over them, even though it was later. So he's going to come back to save the very people that got him kicked out in the first place. This Moses whom they refused, saying, Who made thee a ruler and a judge? The same did God send to be a ruler and deliver by them, or by the hand of an angel which appeared to him in the bush. He brought them out after that he had showed wonders and the signs in the land of Egypt and in the Red Sea and in the wilderness 40 years. So this is where we stopped last time. But the story doesn't stop here. It keeps on going. Now he's telling the story. This is Stephen telling them the story that they probably heard 100 times, but he's telling it in a light that applies to the situation, a light that applies to how Jesus was there and how they were foretold that Jesus was coming. So up to now, he's kind of just told the story. Now we're going to get into where Jesus fits into all this. This is that Moses which said unto the children of Israel, A prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me, him shall ye hear. And this comes from Deuteronomy, where Moses said this. Deuteronomy 18, And the Lord said unto me, They have well spoken that which they have spoken. I will raise them up a prophet from among the brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. Who did Jesus meet with on the mount in the wilderness? It was all glowing and stuff. Mount of Transfiguration. Yeah, Moses was up there with him, so he's probably telling him what to do next, giving him some stuff to do. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. What does that mean? If I tell somebody to do something, or so I give the commandments and somebody doesn't follow them, don't worry, that's not who I'm talking about. That's not the one. If we keep on going in Deuteronomy 18, But the prophet which shall presume to speak a word in my name, which I have not commanded him to speak, or that shall speak in the name of other gods, even that prophet shall die. And if thou say in thine heart, How shall we know the word which the Lord hath not spoken? When a prophet speaketh, this is super easy. When a prophet speaketh in the name of the Lord, if the thing follow not, nor come to pass, that is the thing which the Lord hath not spoken. If it doesn't happen, it wasn't God that said it. But the prophet hath spoken it presumptuously. They spoke it because it was something they felt or that they wanted. Thou shalt not be afraid of him. So don't be afraid of false prophets because they don't get anything right. Hopefully he goes around saying that he's going to beat you up because he's a false prophet, so it won't happen, right? But yeah, you get a lot of those in the day, and they always just blow it off like, well, they'll try to get it on a technicality, try to catch God on a technicality with the prophecy. That's just not how it works. I won't trust these prophets anyway. They all, look how big their glasses are. They all got 100 thick glasses up there. It's like every one of them. You know what's sad? They're probably not even real glasses. Did y'all know that's a thing? I didn't know that was a thing. Jenny did. This one time there was this kid in college, and he had to stay the night with us. I think he was like fighting with his girlfriend or something. We're like, I would just stay here with us. And he had glasses, and they were on the table, and I was like, I wonder what prescription glasses these are. They look weird. I put them on. They weren't prescription. They were just regular glass lens. And I was like, maybe it's like a stigmatism thing that I'm not getting. So I asked the dude, I was like, hey, what prescription strength are these glasses? Like 0? And he was like, oh, they're not real glasses. And I was like, why do you wear them all the time? He's like, oh, I just think they make me look better. Blew my mind. Well, that's what all these guys are. Maybe one of them's real, but most of the time they just wear it for style. Wear glasses for style. These are the kind of people that are leading the new children and stuff. Whew. Anyway, back at it. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us. So he's saying this is the same Moses who got everything from Mount Sinai when he brought it back. I think it's pronounced Sinai, but they spell it Sinai here. It's spelled 2 different ways. To whom our father would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt. In their hearts they turned back into wanting to be slaves. So that's why it's very important, and this kind of gets into a big picture thing that I'm putting together. You would say slavery is really bad, and slavery is the enemy. But the ultimate master psychology of, I'll say, straight Satan, is to make people want to be slaves. You won't have to whip them into being slaves. They'll come and beg you to be your slave. And that's what we're trying to get at kind of nowadays with all these new things that are happening. People come out and they want to push so much that they will even fight the people that are trying to free them to try and stay slaves or to quicker, more easily become slaves. But that's kind of what they're doing here in their hearts. They turn back again into Egypt, turn back into wanting to be slaves. Saying unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moses which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what has become of him. He's not the leader we thought he was because he makes us follow what God says. We want to follow our own gods. Like, dude, you just got brought out of slavery. I think you need to shut up and realize you can't be trusted with anything. So who cares what you want? But no, what did Aaron do? Being the good semi-leader he was. And they made a calf in those days and offered sacrifice unto the idol and rejoiced in the works of their own hands. Alright. Then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets, O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness? Yea, ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch, and the star of your god Remphan, figures which ye made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon. They picked it right back up, and they've never laid it down. If they do, they turn around and pick it right back up again. Look at the flags, look at everything like that. Our fathers had the tabernacle of witness in the wilderness, and he had appointed, speaking unto Moses, that he should make it according to the fashion that he had seen. So they're talking about where does God fit into all this, and now they're putting where Jesus fit into it. And now he's saying, here's how your people have treated sheer evidence, like perfect evidence, and here's what your people did to this evidence every single time. So now they have the tabernacle of witness, which also our fathers that came after brought in with Jesus into the possession of the Gentiles, whom God drave out before the face of our fathers unto the days of David, who found favor before God. He found favor before God and desired to find a tabernacle for the God of Jacob. But Solomon built him a house. Going to Solomon now, built him a temple, a house. Howbeit the Most High dwelleth not in temples made with hands, as saith the prophet. Even the temple, you got golden cows and stuff like that. I looked it up as in the schematics or in what they thought was going to be there. So I was like, come on, man. You just got in trouble for that a couple 100 years ago or whatever. Heaven is my throne and earth is my footstool. What house will ye build me, saith the Lord? Or what is the place of my rest? Hath not my hand made all these things? So it's what God's saying. I don't need idols. I don't need all of that. I don't need everything that you're worried about. I just need simple obedience. It's as easy as that. And I will give you everything. But do they do that ever? No. So now let's turn back to Stephen, who just told him all this story. And now he cranks it up a little bit because the story, him telling himself, got mad. I'm getting mad, getting worked up here reading it. It says, ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, ye do always resist the Holy Ghost. As your fathers did, so do ye. So he's telling like, that's why I told you the story, because you're just like those calf worshippers. You're just like the people who returned to Egypt in their hearts. You're just like the people who ignore everything that's given to them. God gives you sheer evidence, and what do? You turn around and you forget it. You build them a house and say sorry. God doesn't live in houses. You don't understand that. How is it so hard to you people? Anyway, you resist him. Which of the prophets have not your fathers persecuted? And they have slain them which showed before of the coming of the just one, of whom ye have been now the betrayers and murderers. You betrayed the ultimate one. You had the chance and the learning from all your fathers to not do it this time, to be the generation that makes the change, and you killed the Son of God. Killed Jesus. Of whom ye have now the betrayers and murderers, who have received the law by the disposition of angels and have not kept it. You've got the law and you don't even care. When they heard these things, they were cut to the heart, and they gnashed on them with their teeth. But he, being full of the Holy Ghost, looked up steadfastly into heaven, and saw the glory of God and Jesus standing on the right hand of God, and said, Behold, I see the heavens open, and the Son of Man standing on the right hand of God. It's just an ultimate, Jesus is real, I don't care what you guys do. Just the final push. Like, I see Jesus. What are you going to do about it? He's in heaven. Then they cried out with a loud voice and stopped their ears and ran upon him with one accord, cast him out into the city, and stoned him. And the witnesses laid down their clothes at a young man's feet, whose name was Saul. Ooh, Saul, coming later. And they stoned Stephen, calling upon God and saying, Lord Jesus, receive my spirit. And he kneeled down and cried with a loud voice, Lord, lay not this sin to their charge. And when he had said this, he fell asleep and earned his name written in stone, ironically, for forever in many temples. And it's got his name in the Word with an entire story, an entire chapter or two dedicated to the story of this man. Why? Because he chewed out the right people for not believing in it, converted all the people, stopped them, and was died a martyr because of it. Pretty awesome way to go, I think. Stoning would be pretty rough, but I don't know if you get to feel all of it when you're going through that. But that was Acts 7. Next week we'll continue on to Acts 8. I don't know if I'll already go over it, maybe a little bit.